The question many curious people have is how to imagine higher dimensions, how many there are in our universe, and whether other beings could live in these dimensions. But in our everyday lives, we deal with 3 or rather 4 dimensions. We need exactly 3 spatial dimensions to specify the exact position of an object in a coordinate system. But Einstein added time as the 4th dimension, so we speak of space-time. Now it's not just about knowing where an object is, but also at what time it was at that position. Why was that necessary? If 2 objects are in a 3-dimensional space, they cannot occupy the same place at the same time. They can only occupy the same place at different times. That's why this extension. But what could the 4th spatial dimension look like? To be able to imagine that, we need to get to know our 3-dimensional world better. For that, let's look at the simplest structures. Let's begin with the smallest geometric element, the point. A point is considered 0-dimensional since you can't move in any direction within it. A line is 1-dimensional. Beings living in such a space could only move to the left or to the right. A 2-dimensional space is already a surface, so now you can also move up and down. A 3-dimensional space is then already a cube, in which you can move to the right and left, up and down, and forward and backward. The curious thing is that a being in the space in which he lives always sees objects in one lower dimension. A being in the 2nd dimension, for example, would only see objects in this world 1-dimensionally. We perceive 3-dimensional objects in only 2 dimensions. That means a being from the 4th dimension would truly see our world with all its dimensions. We recognize objects as 3-dimensional due to the light that falls on them. If an object became larger as it moved away and smaller as it moved toward us, and if the lighting conditions didn't change, we probably wouldn't even notice it. So we never see our world exactly as it is. A possible being from the 4th dimension would see everything completely. It could look through walls, into our bodies, or into a building, and see multiple places at the same time. Just as we can easily observe 1 or 2-dimensional worlds, someone from the 4th or 5th dimension could do that with our world. How powerful would someone from the 100th spatial dimension be? We realize that we can't imagine such a higher dimension from the following reasoning. The point is dimensionless. The 1-dimensional line has a 1-dimensional point at each end. The 2-dimensional square consists of 4 such 1-dimensional lines. A 3-dimensional cube consists of 6 such squares. That means the 4-dimensional hypercube would have 8 cubes as its sides. Imagination ends here. So the 5-dimensional hypercube would have 10 4-dimensional hypercubes, and so on. Generally, an n-dimensional hypercube is bounded by Cn k x2 to the power of open parenthesis n minus k close parenthesis k-dimensional hypercubes where k ranges from 0 to n1. Imagine a 2-dimensional world where a being lives. In this world, everything only has length and width. We, as 3-dimensional beings, could observe the creature without it noticing anything. It couldn't imagine us, just like we can't imagine 4-dimensional things. Since birth, we only experience 3-dimensional things, so our brains have developed neurons for that. Even if it could see us, it would only see us 1-dimensionally and not in our complete 3-dimensional beauty. Now, if we let a sphere fall through this flat world, the being will only see a circle, or rather, only a line, meaning just one plane of the sphere. The 2-dimensional being cannot see a sphere. A circle briefly appears and then disappears in his world. By doing this, we're just pushing the sphere into another dimension. If we apply this scenario to ourselves, we could explain a lot. Things we don't understand in nature could be higher dimensional phenomena. We analyze things scientifically to understand the universe's mysteries. That reminds me of the being from the two-dimensional world, which would likely do the same with the circle or line. It would make calculations, develop a science, and try to find out why things happen in its world that are obvious and solved for us. Is that perhaps the explanation for various paranormal events that happen on our Earth? Are there beings in the fourth dimension? Why can't we get out of our universe? Why don't we encounter a boundary of the universe? Just like the being from the two-dimensional world could never come up with the idea of going up or down, we can't imagine a fourth axis. Something extraordinary must happen to leave this space-time. Could it be that our entire universe is just a subspace of a higher dimensional space? What speaks against it?